Welcome to Homespun, a weekly podcast brought to you from the Bladen County Journal. This was created for the people in Bladen County, about the people and businesses in Bladen County, and will also be a voice to introduce us to the world. Join us as we journey to tell the stories of our community. All aboard and welcome home to Homespun. Here is your host, Mark Delap.
Well, we're here today on Homespun, and we are with Bo Barefoot. That is a good name.
Southern as it gets.
Southern as it gets. And are you sure Disney didn't have a hand in naming you?
No, at least you're remembered, though. When people meet you, they remember you forever, and that's a great thing. That's a great attribute.
Absolutely. Now, Bo is a man that works here in Elizabethtown. Or Elizabethtown. It depends upon how southern you are, but when you speak that.
That's Elizabethtown.
Elizabethtown. And how long have you been a business owner here?
We started in the year of COVID because our timing is terrible. So we started late January of 2020. We took over the sandwich shop. The town is gracious to us, and we started renting that facility. And in April of 2020, we started the coffee shop known as Barefoot Brew, which has become a staple here in town. We've been very blessed with that. I'll never forget. It was
now, that's in a different location, though.
Yeah, they're different locations.
Okay.
I run the sandwich shop, and my wife runs the coffee shop.
The sandwich shop, give me the address of that.
106 Martin Luther King.
Okay, so you're by the Cape Fear Farmers Market.
We're actually located inside the Cape Fear Farmers Market with Bernie's, who is a local staple and bakery. And
your wife runs Barefoot Brew, and give me the address of that. That's right downtown.
Right. I'm going to say that's 119 West Broad, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And what brought you to Elizabethtown?
Well, I share the story. We were riding on a Saturday going to the beach with our dog in the rain, and my wife had never heard of White Lake. So we took a ride off Highway 40, headed south at exit 341 at Newton Grove, and came down here and circled the lake, and my wife was just infatuated with the quaintness, the kindness, and we found a little somewhat run-down cabin and made an offer, and it was accepted, and we came literally every weekend for a year. And then my kids aged out of college. They graduated. I have twins. One graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, and the other graduated from App. And once they graduated, we had the ability to move down here full-time in 2018.
How was the transition for you and for your wife? Everything is just exciting and full, and the house is full of screaming and shouting, and especially if you have kids in the house. And for me, having three grown boys in the house at the same time in high school, it was 5 pizzas on pizza night. I was ready to pull my hair out some nights.
Right.
But I'd give them anything for just 3 minutes of that time.
Well, our kids, they lived at App, of course, on campus, and they lived at UNC Chapel Hill, and so they weren't around that much at that time. I mean, they'd come home on the weekends. So the transition wasn't difficult for us in regards to moving from Raleigh to here, because my wife's from a very small town. She grew up military, as did I. My father was 30 years Army. And we're originally from small towns in North Carolina, although we had moved and lived numerous other places. So when we came down here, we fell in love with the community, fell in love with the morals, the values. It's somewhat conservative community, and I share this all the time. Politically, I'm probably conservative. Socially, I'm probably a little more liberal, and I honestly think a lot of the world's that way. And we want to be fair. We want to treat everybody with love, and you just see that a lot around here. Everybody's accepted. Everybody helps each other around here. And we decided to give it a go with a coffee shop. That was one thing we didn't have that was really nice that we missed from the Raleigh area. And since that time, we've just, the community has embraced us, and we've tried to embrace them back.
Well, let's take it back a little bit further. Where did Bo Barefoot hail from? Where were you born?
I was born Seymour Johnson in Goldsboro, North Carolina. As I said, my father was military.
Okay.
And so that was where I was born. I lived in Columbus, Georgia, down there at Fort Benning. Then my father, during the NASA days, was actually stationed in Cocoa Beach in the late 60s to mid 70s, and he taught then it was the Florida Institute of Technology. He taught advanced weaponry and mining, so I was in Florida in that golden age, and it was really interesting to be there. We lived in Eau Gallie at the time, which I believe now is Melbourne, but we could see the spaceships take off there at Cape Canaveral before it was renamed. Just really, really interesting. It was a good way to grow up. We'd skip school and go fishing on the pier, etc. So it was an interesting life. Then we moved back to North Carolina. My parents split, and it was a little difficult time during my teen years, where I think as youngsters you're looking for acceptance. You want to be loved. You want to be wanted, and that's tough when your parents split up, because I think we all have that natural instinct to feel like for some reason we're the cause when we're not. And I think that's another great reason that Kelly and I are so loving and compassionate with our kids. We have kids who come from split families. We have kids that perhaps, Kelly doesn't know her biological father. Maybe I'm sharing too much information. If I am, I am, but I'm one of the most transparent people you'll ever meet. My parents were divorced. So we care about our kids, and we have very, very different demographic in regards to our employees. We have kids from parents who are professionals and make great livings. Then we have, we also have our kids we call from split families. We've got a young girl who recently lost her mother. She talks to Kelly a lot about that. So we get to kind of be counselors. We get to be a bit of psychologists, if you will, while we also get to love on the kids and tell them it's okay, and that you're not the cause of what occurs in this world. You be the change within yourself that makes you want to be and actually be a better person and a better human being.
One of the first places we ever went to here in North Carolina, my wife and I, was the Barefoot sandwich shop.
Okay.
And that's our first official meal was there. And one of the things that struck us was the kindness and the courteousness and the just the kids that work at your place. They were just above and beyond a lot of things that we've seen in Florida and everything else, where everybody's just on their own agenda. And here are kids that are reaching out to us, and they didn't even know us.
Right.
And then I see this overbearing Samaritan, I guess I'll call you that, who's fixing a coffee machine and
yelling at the kids at the same time. Probably.
Yeah, stressed to the max. You're kind of like that coach that's you're kind of a combination of a coach and a pastor and a counselor, and you've adopted a lot of kids, haven't you, as far as your kids in your sandwich shop?
Oh yeah, and we call them our kids, and I tell them all the time, and they'll reply back to me, "You were right, Mr. Bo." I said, "All we are is controlled chaos." I said, but then again, that's really what the world is. So always realize that you're in control, even if you don't think you are. You control your thought process and how you react and what you do. I said, if you can thrive in this sandwich shop with me, with a line out that door, the chaos that's going on, get orders right, be kind to people, clean up after those, be a servant, and people will notice that. And our kids, I think they're aware of that. They see that, and they talk all the time about how, and this will bring tears to my eyes, how kind our clientele is, and how they love the demographic that comes in our sandwich shop, and how good people are to them. So they realize that if they're good to people, people will be good to them. And that's hard this day and time, because you just don't see that a lot anymore. And they have the ability for me to go drill sergeant on them. As I said, my father's 30 years military. Grew up very, very strict. There was no talking back. It was physical punishment. And that's just the way it was in those days. I don't regret it. I don't have any qualms about it. It probably made me a better human being in the long run. Our two terms all the time, you hear said all the time, accountability and responsibility. Accountability and responsibility. And you'll see me go to the back if an order's wrong. I say, who made this order? And I give it to them. I love them for it. They'll fess up. They say, Mr. Bo, I made it. I say, okay, it says no onions, you put on onions on it. We all make mistakes. Let's read the ticket. Let's do a better job. You're better than that. You got it. And they'll say, you're right, Mr. Bo. And that's the way correct them. But people need to know, we make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I make errors. And I'll go back there, I'll yell about an order, and here's a great example. The other day, my little front girl put in an order, and she put no onions on there, and it went to the back, and for some reason, rather than no, she hit on, and it said on onions, so they put onions, and it was on there, and it came out, and I said, how do we get this wrong? How do we get this wrong? And she says, Mr. Bo, I said, okay. I said, you hit that wrong, that's okay. Next time, just make sure we don't transpose. And I went back there to the back, and I apologized to every kid that was back there as a group. I said, I was 100% wrong to get on you guys as a unit. That was my fault. I should have paid more attention to the ticket, known that wasn't the right ticket. So Mr. Bo made a mistake. And comically enough, if you're around us enough, one of my boys looks at me and he says, Mr. Bo, read the ticket. So it's just cute. We have a good give and take. But our kids would not be what they are were it not for their parents, and were it not for this community, and were it not for them being grounded and having discipline and respecting their elders at an early age.
That's a great teaching right there. And I remember early in my career, I got to work under the great John Wooden out in California. And one of the things he said about leaders, he said your kids should they should hate to love you, not love to hate you. And that really makes a big difference when the way your management style is.
Oh yeah, I've never heard that, and I admire that because I always did admire John Wooden. But yeah, they hate to love me at times, but you'd be surprised, and it's a little unsettling for those that don't understand our true dynamic and relationship. Because when my girls and the boys leave in the afternoon, I yell at them as I hear them. They say, "Bye, Mr. Bo, we love you." And I'll yell back. Yell back, "I love you. No texting while driving. If something happens to you and you text while driving, you're going to hate me worse than you are the accident. So don't text and drive." So they always laugh at me and they say, "We love you, Mr. Bo. We're not going to be texting." But it's just, it's the current culture that we live in, and kids are kids, and they're good here though. If we didn't have these young adults, we'd have nobody, and we wouldn't have a business.
Sure. Now you're in a very small area. Those of us that have been successful in business or successful in coaching or teaching, I kind of wonder why we're all in a period of time where we're all being led here to Elizabethtown when we could have went someplace else. Right. We're all coming here.
Right.
Something is about to happen. I feel it here in Elizabethtown. There's an explosion of things.
It's very interesting you say that, because I share that we're the fourth largest landmass county in the state of North Carolina. And I believe we're the 72nd county in regards to population. And if you really look at a map of North Carolina, you'll see that we're kind of a protected black hole, for lack of a better term. We're in that triangle between, Raleigh and Wilmington and Fayetteville. Well, those areas are really saturated, and a lot of people don't enjoy the urban lifestyle, and they choose to move more to the outskirts. And I think we're coming to a point of critical mass here, where the outskirts are going to start coming in. They're going to start coming in 87 from Fayetteville and 87 from Wilmington and down 701 from Raleigh and Clinton. I know that the census says that we dropped a certain, I believe maybe 14% from 2010, but I seriously question the census simply because it was taken during COVID. Our culture in this particular county is not crazy about being counted. We're not the most trustworthy of the federal government at times, as I think much of society isn't. And I know that Kelly and myself can sit here and tell you we don't remember being counted for the census, and we understand that the reason for the census is to have the number of individuals necessary to be able to obtain more funding and grants, et cetera, from the state. So I think people misconstrue it as it's used to keep up with you, whereas it's really used more to see where government monies should flow to help those who are growing.
Absolutely. Now, I watched you at the chamber dinner, and you won an award. Tell me a little bit about that award.
Well,
and you brought everybody on stage. If you could have brought your mother and dad and all your relatives, they would have been on stage with you. But it was a proud moment for you.
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about it.
It was Small Business Person of the Year, and it was actually my wife Kelly and myself. because without one, there's not another. We are very, very synergistic and obviously congruent in our beliefs. She is more the emotion, the heart and soul, and I'm more of the arms and legs and the operation and production and behind the scenes and stock. She handles all the tech, and I love her for it. So we work really well as a unit. So I brought my wife up, and then we brought Taylor Lewis, who works for us. And I just laugh when I think about Taylor. She's kind of the female version of me at that age. She's never met a stranger. She loves everybody. She works at all. We also have a boutique, which we didn't mention, that my wife runs. And Taylor works at all three of our businesses. So that's how diversified and intelligent she is, and how she just adapts to the situation and conquers. And that's the biggest thing about our kids. Like I said, I tell them, never panic, always adapt. Never panic, adapt. When you panic, as we used to say in the military, when you panic, you die. I say that all the time. When you panic, you lose. You probably know that as a coach as well as anybody.
Absolutely.
Never panic. Assess the situation, adapt, and try to overcome. Right. And she's one that does that. And I just wanted for her to be up there with us so she could realize that she's meaningful, and she was simply a representative for the rest of our young adults that worked for us that evening.
Oh, sure.
And the fact that she was able to be there as a 20-year-old and hear that the great things that are going to be going on in this county, from the aviation that's coming to hopefully a geoponics plant that's coming, to we are looking for housing, we are looking to improve our infrastructure, we are looking for grants, etc. Because a lot of the young adults aren't aware of what happens behind the scenes with government.
Sure, and I think that it was good for the kids to hear, that the adults are saying, we want to create a place where the kids don't have to move away. We don't want them to move away. We want them to stay right here and continue the generations. I think, there's a lot of us coming in right now. We don't know why we're here. We just know that we're called to be here. I remember Dane said something about workforce housing and how they're just starting on that, and they're kind of like shooting in the dark right now on that. Enter my wife, who wrote the book on workforce housing in Florida, and here we come.
Good.
And so the thing is that people are being put into this community that really need to be here to take it to the next level. Part of that is you. You talk about your wife being the emotional one, maybe, but I saw a lot of emotion, a lot of passion from you that night.
Yeah, it's I get a little emotional about the kids. I tell people all the time. I try to be understanding. I don't put up with a lot of foolishness. But when it comes to the kids I call them kids again, but our young adults, I know that if I walked up on that building at that sandwich shop and I said, hey, we're going to jump off and we're going to be fine, that they do that for me. Now, I would never put them in that danger, but I know that they trust me enough and they trust my judgment, and they've listened to me enough to realize that 98 or 99% of the situations and tasks that I describe and states what is going to happen ahead of time, a bit of a soothsayer, if you will, this experience, as well as I do, that will come to fruition.
Right.
You were a basketball coach, and there's, you want a particular kid taking the ball up the court versus another. It's not one's better than the other. It's just the one's better in that situation. Mm-hmm. The kid who doesn't take it up might be the one that's going to get the shot in the corner, whereas the other one's got to get it to him. Right. And that's what I tell them all the time. We operate as a team. And Kelly and I are the walking, living version of that every day, and they see it, and they realize it. Miss Kelly does this, and Mr. Bo does that. But now, don't get me wrong, these young adults are smart. They play us just like dad and mom, too, good cop, bad cop. They know how to manipulate them. Go say, well, Mr. Bo said, Mr. Bo didn't really say. Mr. Bo might have,
inferred.
And if you check with Miss Kelly. So,
yeah.
But our young adults are smart, and you were talking about the young adults leaving. If we get them to come back, even if they leave, we just want them to come back. I know what it was like to be a rural kid and to be poor. And I lived in Raleigh, and I was blessed to be able to go to the DPAC and see Phantom of the Opera and go and do cultural activities that weren't available to me as a youth. So we tell them all, move away, go see if you like it. If you do, you can stay. If you don't, come back and give to this community and and be functional and make this a better place. Come back and create some arts here, because we do struggle with the arts in this county a bit. That's a struggle for me. While I'm not the most artistic individual, I have a true appreciation for the arts. And when I say the arts, I mean everything from sculpture to painting to dance to, obviously my son sings, to just anything to do with the arts. It's nice. I wish we were a little stronger in that field, be it with productions, etc. But it's hard when you don't have the funding in a very rural county like we, and we are a socioeconomically challenged county, but we're going to overcome it through people like ourselves moving in, you and your wife moving in, Dane out of the military, who's our town manager, coming in with this militaristic attitude that we're going to accomplish tasks. The citizens definitely have to jump on board and realize we do need some more, let's say, infrastructure. We need, I'd like to see some better, maybe another grocery store. I'd like to see us, have more housing, but it needs to be controlled. I don't want to be overrun and have so many entrances and egresses that you can't even get out. You got gridlock like Raleigh.
Absolutely. I think one of the things too that I see with you teaching the kids is that, and one of the things I would tell my kids every day, I say, you're going to walk out that front door. You can either make a left and make an appearance, or you're going to make a right and you're going to make a difference. And if you make a difference rather than just an appearance, you're going to build something that's worthwhile. I think that what you're talking about is teaching kids to invest in their community when they're this age, because it's when they plant that they want to come back to see what the fruition of what they planted has brought. And I think that's the key, I think, in a lot of young people, is that we teach them to invest in their communities when they're young. Because those that invest in their communities, they'll come back.
All right.
But those that take from their communities,
right,
they'll just go to another community and take. But we need to teach them how to give. And then that community is, then they got some skin in the game.
Right.
You got kids with skin in the game, right, they'll be back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because, as a young adult, particularly if you finish college, you're concerned with your career, you're concerned with obviously starting a family, then you're concerned with the educational aspect of your children. And I tell this to virtually any adult that comes in. They say, well, why did you and Kelly come here? We came here because we love the quaintness, we love the kindness, we love the generosity of this county. Now, we more or less, we started the businesses because we wanted to be engaged in the county and give back to the county. And we were also at that point in our life where we were empty nesters, but we are still young enough for us ourselves to be on our feet for 10, 12, 14 hours a day in our businesses. And, if we have one true fault, it's probably we work too much in our business and not enough on our business. And we're changing that right now to be a bit better in the management aspect of our businesses and control cost of goods better and labor, etc. But I think our kids see that, and they realize that we are trying to make a difference. We have a lot of events that we personally pay for over at the farmers market through the kindness of the town, allowing us to do these events at the farmers market, from the line dancing every other Thursday night is free for the public to come. And we have anywhere from 35 to 50 people there.
Where is this at?
It's in that farmers market. It's in the large area out there. Every other Thursday night, this coming Thursday night, we'll have it. And it gives quite a few of the...
line dancing
lessons.
Line dancing lessons.
We have a family that comes.
Okay, I spent some years in Wyoming as a wildlife photographer, and line dancing is like their main dance out there.
Right.
I grew up in Wisconsin where polkas were the dance.
Okay,
here you're teaching line dancing. Why line dancing?
Well, Billy Baker and his wife Sandy approached me, and I know them from the Smithfield area from probably 1990, and said, Bo, we want to do some line dancing lessons. Do you mind if you think we could do them at the farmers market? And I said, well, let me ask the town. And the town was gracious and said, if you can get people coming to the farmers market for any reason, at least we're getting them to the venue. So they allowed us to do it. So it's Billy and Sandy and their daughter come, and their two granddaughters come, and they've got a following themselves. And we've got speakers, they've got headsets, and we have I mean, the local community shows up and he gives lessons, and there's no pretentiousness. It's kind, it's loving. They help each other to learn the dances, so nobody feels like they're being looked down upon if they don't know how to do it. It's a great environment, and we do it every other Thursday night.
Do you pass out cowboy boots and cowboy hats?
No, but my wife will sell you some if you'd like to buy some at the boutique.
I got quite a collection of those when I was worked in Wyoming, and so sometimes I feel naked without my cowboy hat on.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you, you created a lot of businesses. You created a lot of opportunity here, not only in the farmers market, in the sandwich shop, and in the restaurant, but in the boutique. I kind of have a feeling that there's no quit in you. And Kelly, it's the same thing. When other couples might have looked at the economic situation here in Elizabethtown, and it would be so easy to just pack up the suitcases and go someplace else.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you stay?
We genuinely are engaged in this community. It's just hard to explain unless you're around us a lot and you see the way we operate every day. My saying is, you either get us or you don't. And if you do, fine. And if you don't, fine. But we're probably the most as genuine people as you'll ever meet. We love it here. I quit a job with corporate America where I made 6 figures to come and run the sandwich shop. I've had to borrow against my own retirement and make payroll at times. Financially, does it make any sense? Probably not. But spiritually and meaning of life and enjoying being around the kids and staying young and trying to mentor, it means more than any job will pay you. And I think that's where people lose their focus and their genuineness in life, when you simply chase the dollar to chase the dollar. What kind of life is that?
Yeah.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
My daughter called me and she said, Daddy, why are you working in such a small market? You've worked in Los Angeles and Chicago and Milwaukee and Minneapolis and Chattanooga, and why would you want to work in such a small area? And this is when I was in Wyoming. This is a little bigger than Wyoming, but that gives you an idea what small town that was. And I had 2 newspapers there. And I said to her, well, what was your morning like? She goes, oh, it was terrible. She said 4.5 hours to get to work. She lives in Minneapolis. And she said, with the protesters and the traffic and the road construction, she said 4.5 hours, Daddy. And I said, Dace, I'm with you. I said, I had a rough morning too. It took me 4.5 minutes to get to work because I was stuck behind a tractor today.
Right.
And she said, there was a long silence. She goes, Daddy, I hate you. And I said to her, you get to a point in your life, Dace, where, and her name is Dacia, but I said, you get to a point in your life where you don't take the job anymore for the money, but you can afford to take the job because it gives you the peace of mind that you need.
Right.
It gives you the enjoyment that you like. Right. And sometimes when we're younger, we can't afford to do that.
Right.
And so we get to that point where we're working jobs that we absolutely love. I look at your passion. I look at Kelly's passion. I think to myself, here are 2 people that absolutely love what they're doing. Does that mean there's no challenges? Absolutely not. Does that mean there's no financial phantoms? Absolutely not. But you guys didn't quit when you could have.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's got to speak loud to this community that you stayed. And it's kind of like, well, if Bo Barefoot is not jumping ship, we're not going to jump ship either.
Right.
We're going to make this work.
Right. And you see that in this community. We wouldn't be here now. And to your point, it brought up a thought process. I had a gentleman during COVID who came in quite a bit in the sandwich shop. And, I don't know how many thousands of restaurants went out of business. And he looked at me and he said, man, I love to come in here. You guys are nice, you're kind, your food's great. If you had this in Wilmington, you would be. And I said, sir, that's enough. He said, what do you mean? I said, if I had this in Wilmington, I'm another one of the 1,000 you pass driving down the road. And there's no sense of community. And I'm already gone if I'm there, just so you know. I'm just another number. I said, here, I can get in the rotation with the other restaurants. I can get with Giorgio's, I can get with Melvin's, I can get with Christopher's, I can get with San Jose. And if you come with eat with me once every couple of weeks, I have sustainability and I can survive. I said, so here I make a difference. And I think that's one of the reasons you and your wife are here. Whether you choose, and I think you know this, I think you're wise. You're here because you can make a difference. Even what you're doing here today, no one's ever become this engaged with us to understand the force of social media and how many more people you can touch through social media. Your wife dealing with the housing, I pray she gets in touch with Dane or our new county manager. And
right, they've already got the feelers out for her, and Columbus County wants her too.
Right,
because
stay up
she's
here.
So,
we need you. Stay up here now.
She's been a successful mortgage lender for many years. She can get housing for people that can't get housing. So anyway, she's my touchstone. She's to me what Kelly is to you.
Right.
She's the glue that holds me together sometime. I'm like you. The passion is there. The tears come easily sometimes, but the anger also comes.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
And the temper comes. And I come from that background too, where the old school trained me.
Right.
And so I think I learned a lot from that older generation. When you look around Elizabethtown right now, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I hope I'm right here doing the same thing. I love it. To your point, we make a difference here. I don't make a difference in Raleigh, in a little shop somewhere. I make a difference here. Kids come and want to work for us. We've never really put up a help wanted sign. Thank you, Lord. We're so blessed. I mean, we literally can make a difference here. Yeah. And I think that's the calling. I think that's why you're led where you're led. And to be brutally honest, Kelly is the one who one day in Raleigh looked at me and said, the kids are out of college and they're on their own. Is there any reason we have to live here in Raleigh? And I started laughing. I said, never really thought about that, but no, there's no reason at all, sweetheart. She said, well, I want to move to the lake. So we put our house on the market, we moved to the lake, and here we are.
That is so cool. And it's like it is making a difference. This week was my first week, and I think that I've already started to realize I don't have enough hours in my day to make this happen like I wanted to. The paper I had in Wyoming was the worst in the state. We went from worst to first in a year and a half.
Right.
And I'm hoping the same thing happens here with the television program. I wrote my column this week about and I tore out everything out of here that I wanted to. I'm starting to take out anything national. We're going to be a commercial, and not a commercial, but a personal hometown newspaper again. We're going to be local.
Right.
And that's what the show's all about.
Right.
It's about local people for local people.
Right.
People get to know Bo Barefoot.
Right.
And next time we have you on, we'll have Kelly on with you, and it'll be Thesey and I interviewing both of you guys. But then you and I won't get a word edgewise because our wives will be here.
Yeah,
so
Kelly will do well. It's interesting how you grow, because I tell people, and if you saw us at the chamber, and she simply got up there and said thank you, but she wouldn't even do a TikTok or a Facebook or anything when we kind of first met. And now she has to do it out of survival. She does her own TikToks for the boutique. And again, back to the young adults. She probably wouldn't know how to do that if we didn't have the young adults show us how to do it.
Sure.
So one helps the other. We
Absolutely.
take them for what they do know, and they do have knowledge, and they do know how to do a lot of things that we don't. Let me share this one real quick. This is just such a cute story. I had my two of my young men with me, and we had a flat tire on a trailer. And so I get out of the truck, and a flat tire. I say, all right, boys, let's change this tire. They'd never changed a flat tire. So you know what we did? We had flat tire changing class there in the next 30 minutes.
good for you.
And when I took, and you know how it is. Okay, I got the 4-way wrench out. And they said, you jack it up. I said, no, you don't jack it up first. You want the pressure to hold the tire so it doesn't spin when you try to break it loose. And you couldn't twist it. And I got a bar and put on it to give me some leverage. And, you'd have thought I was Einstein, because I got a little leverage. So I broke it loose, and once I broke it loose, then I jacked it up, and I took that 4-way, you put it in your hand, and you spin it like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you know how to do this, Mr. Bud? It's like I was a magician. And I said, this is my famous line. I said, boys, you don't know what you don't know. I said, you've never had anyone show you what I'm doing right now, so you don't know how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I don't know how to go do a TikTok unless you show me how to do it. And it's okay. It's okay that you don't know how to do this, but now you do. And so that's just a great example of where we as adults at times look at the younger adults and we say, oh, there's a generation gap. They're just stupid. No, they're not. They're not stupid. I promise you they're not.
No.
They've just not been exposed to it.
Right.
So it should be our duty and our service as adults to ensure that we expose them to a lot of these, what we consider simple tasks they've never had to perform. It's okay. They didn't. I don't know where I learned to drive. I could drive when I was 6 years old because I drove a tractor in the field.
Yeah, here too.
Okay, so it's just a different dynamic.
Or kids nowadays, they've never done a tune-up on a car or because you can't anymore.
No, you can't anymore.
Yeah,
but, they've never changed points, plug, condenser.
No, or oil
Timing
changes.
belt.
Exactly. But those are things that
we did with our uncles.
We grew up
dads.
with.
Right.
People say if we ever went off the grid, we would be the local experts,
Yeah.
But you got to give this younger generation a lot of kudos because they're learning some things that we would never had to learn. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you one final thing, Bo.
Okay.
How does your faith play in what you do here and how you get through?
Man, what a great question. I state this all the time. I say, I pray every day, probably anywhere between 50 and 100 times a day. I feel like I talk to God, My struggle is with man's version of religion in the Bible. And I don't know any other way to put it.
That's good.
We've attended numerous churches around here, and I've enjoyed many of them. But there's only 2 or 3 I feel called to kind of go back to listen to the message. So it's a struggle for me, and I say it's the devil working in my brain because I'm so pragmatic in the manner that I think. I have faith. I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, and I try to be a better human and set example. And I accept Him as my personal Lord and Savior. I have no problem saying that right here in front of the camera. I don't care who sees it.
Absolutely.
But do I feel like I'm worthy daily? I don't. I don't know that I ever will. I don't know that we ever can.
Exactly. We're not worthy, but we've been made worthy by the blood. The the bottom line question then is, when you're having a hard time or when you're having a hard day, is your God practical? Does He get you through? Is it your faith that gets you through?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's an easy one to answer. Absolutely. You go back and sometimes you get off, you look up and say, Lord, it's been a bad day, but He ain't gonna give me the day we're gonna make it through.
Yeah.
And you go back out and you go.
Yeah.
And He does help you make it through. He really does.
Absolutely.
And I do want to say one more thing. You would be amazed at the number of good deeds that myself and my team members see daily with people assisting other people in this community. It's whether it's a man in the back when 2 law enforcement officers walk in and they yell my name, they'll just yell Bo and they'll go. And I know that means he's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I yell to my girl and I go, and the law officer's order, and they go, well, who paid for it? She said, I don't know. I mean, I see things like that all the time, or a couple of elderly ladies come in and, a gentleman say, sit all day, every day.
That's our community.
That's this community.
You got to read my column this week because I talk about this community after just being here for 2 weeks.
Right. Everybody just sees the bad. Nobody wants to exalt the good.
Absolutely.
Everybody just wants to take in the bad, and it's just not who we need to be. We need to share the good and tell people when you see some good things. You don't have to call names.
No.
Just tell the story I just told. I didn't tell who it was or how, but I see it every day. I see great things. People do sweet things for other people they don't have to.
Well, I look around and I saw, things that really touched me in the first couple of weeks I've been here is, the old couple walking down the street with that ice cream and smiling at you and waving to you. People driving by in cars waving at you.
Right.
In a bigger city, you never get that.
Right.
You get a horn honk every once in a while. Miami was horrible because the cars down there are so noisy.
Okay,
Everybody
right.
honking at everybody. And then the kids, I'm rushing to try to get into a building. This kid will stop what he's doing and runs over and opens the door for us. I mean, do I look like I'm 100 years old that I'm that frail? But it's, what it is. Somebody's training the kids up right here.
But that's where our society is changing. You could have that feeling, but yet you took it as this young man has been raised correctly. He's assisting an individual having difficulty getting in a door, whereas someone else could misconstrue it to, I'll take care of it myself, get out of the way. And that's where our society seems to be so divided to me. Just be thankful. Be glad a kid offered to open the door for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be thankful, because it's not about us all the time.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to say it, and I get tears in my eyes when I say it. He used to say, let them feel what you feel when you do something good for them.
Wow.
Well,
on that note, I think that's a perfect way to end this interview.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate your business and what you and your wife have done. And thank God for Bo and Kelly.
I don't know thank God for God, because we wouldn't make it without him.
Yeah.
But we welcome you to community. To your point earlier, and you said it, and I sat here and I thought exactly the same thing. Maybe that's the same reason you and your wife ended up here. We can all work together and make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And a better difference.
Well, thanks, Bo.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Small Business Owner of the Year. And let's go do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
Take care.